What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and if you're enjoying the content that I'm uploading onto my channel, then feel free to subscribe, and you can also offer suggestions on topics and characters and storylines and whatnot that we can have discussions on later on in this channel.
Samurai Jack was one of the greatest shows ever in the history of television, and there'll be no arguing that point. I love Samurai Jack. Phil Lamar. I loved Phil Lamar Samurai Jack. Okay, so here's the deal. Samurai Jack was not originally a comic book, not that I know of. It was basically just a TV show. So for those of you guys who are curious as to how we got here in this comic book, you really just gotta watch seasons 1 through 4. I mean, there's no comic books to run over, and I'm Comics Explained, and so it's not cartoon shows explained. That'd be a great idea for a YouTube channel, though. But with regards to this comic book, it does serve a purpose. So for those of you guys who are new to the concept of Samurai Jack, this was basically a show that launched in 2001 and ran to 2004, I think it was, and it was really just this idea of a time-displaced samurai. There was this demon entity named Aku, and basically kind of thrust Samurai Jack into the future, where Aku had taken over the world. The reason being because Samurai Jack just kept fighting against Aku all the time. But the idea was that Samurai Jack's original name was never given. Instead, he just showed up in the future one day, and then people just started calling him Jack, and then he just had this awesome theme song intro, Samurai Jack. But the idea is that he was always trying to find a way to get back home. The problem is that by the time the show came to an end in 2004, it had really kind of gone off the rails. And I mean, the Scotsman was cool, but the issue was that it seemed like it had kind of gone off the rails. And so I think that Cartoon Network really just kind of said, all right, it's time to get while the getting's good. They just canceled the show, and there was no real conclusion. That's one of the reasons why season 5 is so hyped, because people are just like, hopefully we'll finally get a conclusion to the show, or at the very least, just kind of take a nostalgia trip, which I love going on nostalgia trips to the 90s and 2000s. But with regards to the comic book series, what this did is it filled in the holes between season 4 and season 5. So this is not like our Walking Dead videos. Our Walking Dead videos, for all intents and purposes, contained spoilers, because while they wouldn't necessarily copy the comics in their entirety, they would copy a lot of stuff from the comics. But with Samurai Jack, there's no spoilers here, because as far as I'm aware, the show just kind of picks up from these comics. But these comics were written by Jim Zub, they were released by IDW, and the idea was just kind of fill in the gaps. So what this does is it sort of just jumps in with Jack chasing after or trying to locate a guy by the name of Soul the Seer. Now, Soul the Seer, as far as I'm aware, is a new creation here. This is one of the reasons why Samurai Jack was so cool, is because it took on this very children's show / adult show blend, which is what made it so cool. Like, you would go through and it would have like the narrative, the narrative of a children's show, like once upon a time, and then it's like, shut up, I'm talking. And it was really cool the way it all kind of came together. But what ends up happening here, of course, is Soul the Seer says he already knows who Samurai Jack is. He knows his mission is to get back to the past, defeat Aku so that Aku can never take over the future, all that kind of good stuff. The problem is Soul the Seer is like, look, even if I gave you the information that you wanted, like the scorpions of the scorching sands would kill you. Well, Samurai Jack's like, that's not a problem because I already took him out. Well, then this is when Soul the Seer switches over from being like this, I am Soul the Seer, to being like, all right, dude, let's see what you got. It's really kind of funny. That's one of the things I like about it, is because it's kind of like, it's, you first encounter characters and they have like this trope, like this, I am Soul the Seer, and you must believe me, and I have powers, and then suddenly like the illusion is immediately seen through, and so Soul the Seer is like, okay, fine, let's just get down to brass tacks. It's cool to see that happen. That's one of the reasons why I love it so much. But what Soul the Seer says is that in the early days of the universe's creation, there was something that was referred to called the Rope of Eons. And what the Rope of Eons did is it basically connected the past to the future. It was basically a way for a person to transition from one place to the next. And so you could literally harness the rope and you could walk back and forth through time. The problem with this is that when Aku was able to really take over everything, in the end, he basically shredded the Rope of Eons because he mastered the ability to time travel. He mastered the ability to manipulate the fabric of time itself and didn't want anybody else to have that power. And so the cool thing is that what Soul the Seer says is you're basically gonna have to go on a mission to find these little threads of the Rope of Eons. You're literally gonna have to recreate the rope again. And then when that happens, you can use that rope to send yourself back through time. And so what happens, he basically says, look, go out to this direction over here, just keep walking, and you'll come across the first, little thread as you get to basically a gladiatorial arena. The problem with this is Samurai Jack walks up to the gladiatorial entrance, the warrior's entrance to the arena, which is actually a trap. That's what they're doing here. They're basically laying traps in the ground and they're calling them warriors' entrances. And it's like, hey man, you came through the warriors' entrance. And that's what he says. Like, you know, this guy Dreesen is the one who's kind of running the gladiatorial ring. And Jack's response is like, well, look, dude, I did not intend to walk through the warriors' entrance. I'll just be on my way. And Dreesen's like, no man, the warriors' entrance is the warriors' entrance. You got to fight. And Jack's like, well, that's a trap. And he's like, well, I mean, you know, it's a tomato. What you call a trap, I call an entrance. And it's funny. This is one of the reasons why it works so well. It's because these funny little scenarios, these little back and forths between the different characters. But the other thing here is this is when we also get a lot of the down home element of Samurai Jack. And this is really where the story just kind of hit its stride, because Samurai Jack was nothing if not a show that just made fun of tropes. I mean, you got like Arcus the Clubifier. The guy's got a club. He just clubifies people. I mean, they have names, they have these little nicknames that are based on tropes, you know, the guy, you know, the butt blaster and different things like that. It's designed to make fun of things, but it resonates so well because the story itself is told in such a good way. So it's not like it's a parody, you know, I mean, it's not like it's absolute jargon and absolute nonsense. It's a cool, great ongoing story that grabs these little tropes in from here and there. It kind of pokes fun at like these superhero stories and these old samurai stories, you know, and these, I guess, Kurosawa themes and so on and so forth. But the idea is that, of course, Dreesen offers Jack this option. He says, look, you have to fight in order to escape the gladiatorial arena. You can fight all these guys, or you have to fight all these guys. Which one do you want to fight first? Now, of course, this is the other cool thing, is because Jack sits down and he's like, well, I mean, I could fight them all one by one, but if I do, I'll be exhausted by the last. So he's like, I'll just fight them all at once. So that's the cool thing. That's why the show worked, is because it was always action. It was always moving fast. Things were always cool. Plus the animation was really funky and I really liked the way it looked. It was really wild looking in terms of how the show was drawn. It was really like a great throwback to the old Scooby-Doo cartoons, where it was always like the same background, just moving back and forth all the time. But it was still cool to see, you know, how everything unfolded. But the idea is, of course, he's able to take them all out. Traditional, you know, Samurai Jack stuff. But then, of course, they all, you know, all these different people in the gladiatorial arena really kind of like, you know, rally him as like the ponytail is really what they call him, you know, that kind of thing. But of course, he ends up claiming his victory over Dreesen, and then he grabs this one little thread of the rope of eons and begins the process of continuing on his journey. And that's why I thought this was kind of cool, is because the comics, I mean, you do have like story arcs where it's like six issue story arcs, and it only ran for 24, 25 issues. Maybe it was only 20 or something like that. It didn't run very long, but the way that Jim Zub did this was so cool, because it was basically each comic being an episode of the show. And so it was cool because you could do each one of these comics in and of themselves, and each one just follows like a different adventure. It just follows a different story where Samurai Jack goes against a different group of people each time, or sometimes it might stretch over a couple group of people, but basically each comic is in and of itself its own story. So it's really cool to see it all come together. But if you guys are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoy this video, make sure you drop a like. And to be honest, I'm just kind of testing the waters with this Samurai Jack video right now. I'm just curious. I mean, if you guys want to see more, we can do more. I mean, it's 20 something. I mean, we do one video a week, you know, and just cover each individual comic. It's cool the way it's done. I mean, I like it. I love the Samurai Jack story. This will be one of the video series that I'll do that's completely for you guys. I mean, I love Samurai Jack and I've already read all these stories. So, I mean, I've got mine, you know, I've already went to Comixology and already read them all. But if you guys want to see them, I'll cover them. I mean, you know, if that's something you guys are interested in, I mean, this will be purely your thing. So let me know down in the comment section if you guys want to see more Samurai Jack stuff. And yeah, I will catch you all later. Peace.